Hey guys, this is Josh here. I just wanted to show you all of the stuff I got at the grocery store for about $40 from Hy-Vee. You can see here if you take out I got some apples, but if you take that out, it's under $40, and I got more than enough vegetables, beans, squash, and macaroni than I'll need. Before you get started cooking, always make sure that you wash your vegetables and also wash your hands, and that'll keep you from getting you and your family sick with your cooking. The first thing you want to do is mince the onion, and it's pretty simple to do. You just get a sharp knife, cut off both sides of the onion, and then you remove the outer shell, chop it lengthwise, and then just keep chopping. And I mean, there's no real science to it. You just kind of chop it up into small bits. One thing that you could do is put the tip of the knife down on the cutting board and pivot the knife so you get some good chopping action. Next, you just want to add a little olive oil to your stock pot. It doesn't really matter how much you put in, just don't put too much in because that'll make your soup all oily and that would be unhealthy. And the reason we wanted a little oil is because that's how we saute our onions. And you can just add the onions in now if you'd like, or you can set them aside for later because we're going to have to add more in once we chop up the other vegetables. Okay, now you want to chop up your red peppers. And it really doesn't matter how big they are, but they don't have to be chopped up quite as finely as the onion. So just chop them up lengthwise and then widthwise, and that's fine. I'd usually just throw in the red peppers now, but you can wait because we're going to have to chop up some more things anyway. Okay, now you want to cut up your carrots into either circles or half circles, depending on your preference. Thickness also depends on your preference too. If you want to cut them into half circles, you have to cut the carrot lengthwise first. I just opted to do circles here because it's easier. So that's my preference, to make it as easy as possible. Now put the carrots into your stock pot and just mix it in with all the other stuff that's in there, and you want to let that saute for a good 5-10 minutes. Next you have to mince your garlic, which is kind of an annoying part of cooking because it's kind of difficult, but you have to smash it and pull out each of the individual cloves. And what you do is you cut off one end of each clove and start slicing them lengthwise, and then you do widthwise, just like with the onion, but they're just very small. So if you're having trouble with it, just get some pre-minced garlic and throw it in. I think I minced up about 6 or 7 cloves of garlic, but that's just because I really like garlic. So it's really your preference. If you want to put in more or less, that's fine. So just, if you want, mince up a couple extra and taste it. And if you don't like that it doesn't have a really garlicky taste, you just put some more in. When you're done, throw your garlic into your stock pot. Now we're going to cut up our celery, which is really easy. You just cut it lengthwise into slices. Then you throw it into your stock pot. Now just let all those vegetables saute for a good 10-15 minutes and make sure you're mixing it as it's cooking. Now you want to cut up your potatoes. These don't have to be very small either, just cube them. Make sure they're cubes and throw that in, mix it up. Alright, now you want to throw your tomatoes in, so just open the cans and throw them in. At this point you can dice up any tomatoes that you would happen to have laying around and throw it in to your stock pot as well. In my case, I invited a friend over, which I highly recommend doing. If you know a friend of yours likes to cook, cooking can be a very social activity and it can be a lot of fun. So invite your friends over and cook together. I decided to put some lentils in now. I put in about 2 cups, but it really doesn't matter per se. The cool thing about lentils is that they are a dried bean, but they don't have to be soaked like the other dried beans, so you can just put them in at this point. And now we're going to start adding our spices in. So I put a fair amount of red pepper in there, and then I also put some bay leaves in. Next, I added about 3 tablespoons of the low sodium soy sauce, and I chopped up 2 jalapeno peppers and added those in. If you don't like your soup to be that spicy, you can add less than 2, maybe just 1. And if you want to keep it from being too spicy, you can also de-seed them by just taking out the middle part. After you let that saute for a little while, you're going to add in some vegetable cooking stock. And you can add I added about 3 of these containers in, but you can add more because the vegetables are going to take up a lot of that cooking stock. When you're chopping the squash, I would recommend that you chop it lengthwise first. Cut it once or twice lengthwise so they come out into smaller pieces. Unless you really don't care about having larger pieces of squash in your soup, you can. That's up to you. I mean, you can cut it just once and then you get half squares, or you can not cut it at all lengthwise and you'd get full circles. Next, add your beans. Make sure you get the beans that say no salt added, because that's healthier. And you just drain the juice if you'd like by holding the top and tipping it into the sink. But you don't have to drain the juice either. You can add it to your soup. Now you're going to add your beans and your pasta into your soup. Mix that in and let that simmer. Now we're just going to take our kale, which is really healthy stuff, and tear off the stems and tear them up into little bits and throw it into our pot, which should be simmering by now. The last thing we're going to do is mince up some parsley and add that to our soup. And we're also going to add in whatever other spices that we want to put in. In my case, I put in some rosemary since there's potatoes in there. And rosemary goes really good with potatoes. Alright, so now here we have it, our final soup. The only thing that we need to do now is fine tune it and add whatever spices that we want to make it taste as good as possible. To do that, I usually just taste a little bit of my soup, and if you get a good idea what spices taste like, you'll know what to add, and you can just add and then keep tasting, and hopefully you'll emerge with a really tasty soup. Alright you guys, so I hope that this video has helped you and showed you that cooking can be healthy, easy, and fun, and it doesn't have to take a long time. So my main piece of advice would be just to not take cooking too seriously and to have a good time with it. All right? Enjoy. Along with eating healthy, research shows that there are many health benefits to increasing your regimen of physical activity, including a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, which encompasses both heart disease and stroke, and a lower risk of cancer. A lot of people are afraid that if they go to the gym and start exercising, they're going to injure themselves. But the research actually shows that increasing your physical activity will strengthen your bones and muscles and help with your arthritis if you have it. The research also shows benefits to mental health and mood with increased physical activity, with a good regimen being as effective in treating depression as an antidepressant. Physical activity also increases your chances of living longer and gives you a better quality of life. What we're seeing here is a challenging but fun exercise called the circuit. The great thing about this exercise is that it's highly structured. You spend a set amount of time at each station, and then once the timer goes off, you switch to the next station. And another great thing about this exercise is that you're doing it with other people. So you're there with other people who will encourage you to keep going. That said, another great thing about this circuit training is that you can take it at your own pace, and nobody there is going to judge you. Everyone there is there because they're concerned about their own health. So the people there are actually more likely to commend you for caring enough to progress towards a better, healthier you. The American Heart Association recommends that you get at least 25 minutes of vigorous aerobic exercise 3 days per week for a total of 75 minutes of aerobic exercise per week. For those of you with high blood pressure or high cholesterol, the American Heart Association recommends 40 minutes of activity 3 or 4 times per week to lower your blood pressure and cholesterol. This circuit training might be offered at your local gym, but for those of you that may not have a gym membership, or maybe don't have enough time, or are intimidated by the gym, there are other options available to you. Other examples of vigorous aerobic activity would be running, jogging, biking, kayaking, and many other things that raise your heart rate. These things might be preferred by some people, especially during the summer, fall, and spring months, because you can do these activities outside. An alternative way to maintain cardiovascular health is to do moderate physical activity, 30 minutes per day, for at least 5 days per week. Moderate physical activity would be something such as walking with your dog or with friends, or gardening, dancing, or housework. For those of you who are more competitive, you might want to try partnering up and playing racquetball or squash, where the object of the game is to get the ball to bounce more than once on your partner's turn. Team sports like basketball are another good way to keep physically active. But to prevent orthopedic issues, the American Heart Association further recommends that you get mid to high intensity muscle strengthening activity at least twice per week. Too intimidated to go to the gym? Well, let's let Pearl, a regular gym goer, explain the basics.
Well, for somebody new in the gym, the first thing you should do is get your heart pumping. So the first thing I do is hop on the treadmill for a half a mile. Usually takes about 3 minutes. Another exercise you can do is Stairmaster. It burns just as many calories, if not more, than treadmill. What you must do is keep hydrated. You don't need anybody passing out. One thing I emphasize on is basically you cannot be afraid to start off at low weights. You have to, basically everybody has a different strength level, so you can't be afraid if you have to pick up 5 or 10. It's all about correct form. So for me, I usually deal with 30 pounds and you just watch your form. Make sure you don't arch your back, make sure you don't swing. You gotta be able to control the weight. There's one part of your body you can work out every day consistently, 6 out of 7 days a week, is your core. So there's no way around it. If you want a 6-pack, 4-pack, flat belly, one workout you can do is sit-ups and crunches and planks. So 3 workouts you can do and emphasize into your everyday workout. Leg lifts. It really isolates the external and internal obliques.
Okay.
Lift your legs as high as you can.
Another good core workout is called the Russian twist. The twisting action works out your entire core, including your rectus abdominis and external obliques, and you can go up in difficulty by using heavier medicine balls. If you're concerned about your form using the free weights, you always have the option to use the machines, which guide your exercise with controlled motions. With machines, it is necessary to adjust them to your height and weight preference. So let's let Pearl show us how to do that.
Almost all the machines come with a lever on the side, usually right behind your, right underneath your butt. Self-explanatory, everything goes in numbers. These increase by 15. 12? Yeah. And if you want to go 5-pound intervals, you got these in here for 5 pounds. Most popular workout, the bench press. Everybody wants to be the big buff guy. When it comes to benching, there's a lot of precautions you have to take. What's left to do is secure the bar with this safety clip. So you do, when lifting heavy weights, always have somebody spotting you. Because all it takes is one mistake, one hesitation, one jerk, you will be seriously injured. Workout to emphasize on your shoulder, your deltoids, is the flies. Works on your back and your arms at the same time. Individuals that aren't blessed out the finances or whatnot to enroll in the gym. There's 4 or 5 workouts you can do to keep yourself physically fit. One is a push-up. There's 3 different variants of them. This is your regular push-up. If you want to focus on your arms, get your arms more cut up. Both the diving push-up. And if you want to focus more on your chest, the wide stance. Another workout to get your heart pumping. If you don't have a treadmill or Stairmaster, jumping jacks. Another workout you can do, it incorporates the whole body. It's a body squat. You have to really focus on just dropping your hips without using weight. Form really comes into factor so you can get the effect. You always want to keep your neck up. Any workout you do, you always want to keep your head forward and neck up. You never want to arch your back. Important workout you can do, which is probably the best for abs. Works on your back and your abs at the same time. That's a plank. Oh, I was fit. Here you have to focus on not having your butt too high in the air and not too low to the ground.
So as you can see, there are a lot of ways for each of us to get active. Making physical activity a priority will not only make you look better, but you will also feel better and have fewer health problems. Though it might seem hard to get started, the important thing is to start small and start today. Thanks for watching, everyone, and best of luck.